Welcome back to the Flying with the Flock podcast, the easiest place to get all your Eagles and other NFL related news. I'm your host, Matt, and welcome to our third episode. I am currently recording this right before the Eagles versus Falcons game, so we will be covering that plus more tonight. So welcome. I've just wanted to add a quick note here at the beginning of the episode. I want to thank you all for watching the first two episodes. I know the first one definitely got a lot more views than the second one, but it's still much appreciated. Uh, Furthermore, if you could just subscribe and drop a like, that would be much appreciated. Maybe even comment, give me some ideas of what I could do or how I can improve. But all that being said, let's hop into tonight's game. Falcons, Eagles. Eagles are the heavy favorites right now, mainly coming off of that. Both teams are coming off of Eagles coming off of a really strong win against the Packers in Brazil, and the Falcons are coming off a really bad loss against the Steelers at home. Uh, Realistically, I really see, like I said last week, I see the Eagles probably dominating this team as long as they can just stifle the run. Kirk Cousins right now, there's rumors around the NFL that he is currently battling through the Achilles injury still, uh, and that's definitely seen in the percentage of snaps that he took out of shotgun compared to under center. Uh, Kirk has definitely been better uh, in his career when he's under center and he's able to open up that play action game and allow his receivers to get downfield. He's definitely reliable, and I don't see him having as bad as a performance as he did week one, only because now he's had another week to shake off the rust a little bit more, get more acclimated to his receivers. But if the Eagles can play as physical and as dominant on defense as they did week one against Brazil, I can easily see us almost blowing this team out of the water. But looking at our offensive side of the ball, we definitely need to protect the ball a little bit more. Jalen Hurts needs to cut down on the interceptions. Realistically, I would hope that he has none during this outing. Uh, so we can give the defense a little bit of a break and allow them to focus on the run and shutting down Bijan Robinson. But if we can open up, just allow Saquon to run on this defense, I don't recall their defensive linemen being too amazing. When it comes to run stopping, they might be all right when it comes to pass pass rushing, but realistically, if we can just open up the lanes for Bijan, this might be just another, I mean, not Bijan, for Saquon, this will probably be another Saquon Barkley show, similar to how Brazil was. I know A.J. Brown is also out. He was ruled out yesterday from the game. So that's a little bit upsetting. I really was hoping to see A.J. Brown go off again, but this will allow Smitty, Jahan Dotson, and Goddard to show why they're here. Uh, this offense can easily function without A.J. Brown. It would just be nice to have him. I don't even know who's going to be our wide receiver three right now. It might be Brent Covey, which I don't entirely love him lining up. Because I know Johnny Wilson is also out with a hamstring injury, and I'm pretty sure he would normally fill in for wide receiver three now. But I'm not even sure what's happening with Anais Smith. I'm pretty sure he's on IR the last time I checked. So I'm not sure who we have for wide receiver number four. If we're going to elevate a guy off the practice squad for the game. But I really hope that AJ Brown just gets some rest between now and the Saints game, and we can really just allow him to heal up, him and Johnny Wilson, and come back swinging next week. Getting into next week's game, it's getting a little bit weird me doing this, doing Monday night and then the following game, uh, which will be Eagles Saints on Sunday. Thank God we're on a Sunday finally. I'm kind of tired of waiting and watching primetime games, but so realistically, this could be a really major game depending on how tonight goes. The Saints coming off of a really dominant win against the Cowboys team that I will definitely touch on later. The Saints came off of a 44 point win, I'm pretty sure, against the Cowgirls. So, Eagles will definitely have their work cut out for them. Right now, based off of some of the betting odds, the Eagles are favored at -3. I believe they're in New Orleans, if I'm not mistaken. I believe they're at the Caesars Superdome. Surprisingly, they're favored by 3 on the road against this team that hasn't scored under 40 points in a game yet. So, and apparently the Eagles have a 60 are favored 60% over the Saints 40% to win this game. This is definitely going to be difficult, and it's definitely going to put our rushing attack to the test, or our rushing defense to the test, only because they're definitely going to try to get Kamara going early. And if they can, that's going to open up the play action for Carr a bit more, which will then obviously lead to the big plays that the Saints have been known for up to this point. I guess the Saints are a real team, and we'll touch on that in a little bit with some of the upsets throughout this week. But I'm assuming that the Saints are like a real threat to the NFC royalty, that being the Eagles. Well, obviously the Cowboys, they were a threat to the Bucks, the Lions, and the 49ers, who again we'll touch on later. Um, yeah, the Saints. I do see the Eagles probably winning this, though not as easily as their past few games. I feel like this is definitely going to be a defensive battle because I know the Saints' defense, although not as talked about as their offense in the media right now, is still a really good unit, especially with Cam Jordan and I always forgot that Tyrann Mathieu went there. So yeah, I see the Eagles probably squeaking this one out, but realistically, I could really see this go either way with this high-powered offense. These guys are Derek Carr is looking like prime Drew Brees right now, and I can't tell whether they're just a flash in the pan and they're just exploding out at the beginning of the season, or whether this is gonna carry on into, say, the playoffs and possibly beyond. Now, getting into this past week's games, I have some some notes here. I unfortunately didn't get to see too much of Sunday's action, but looking at some of the bigger games, we have Bills Dolphins. That was a really good Bills win right there, and they didn't have to put too much on Josh Allen's back. Um, the defense played like again one unit what they did against the Cardinals, and Josh Allen was able to get the offense going early, especially with the running game. James Cook had himself a night. He did pretty well from what I remember. Uh, but unfortunately, this game got overshadowed with one injury, and that being Tua Tagovailoa. He went down with another concussion. I believe this is his third in his career, at least at the NFL level. This might be the fourth in his overall football career, including NCAA. But yeah, it's really concerning to see this. I remember back in, I believe it was 2022, Thursday night against the Bengals, uh, Tua suffered a second concussion, and he went into fencing, which is when the concussed person immediately after like extend their arms. I just remember it being a huge mess. So I really hope that Tua starts taking care of his body more. This was done he got concussed on a scramble forward. He ran into Damar Hamlin of all people, and he led with his head, which I think is more the concern. Is that it doesn't really seem like Tua is. It doesn't seem like he's as careful with his body right now. Obviously, he's leaner than he's ever been, and that was a huge talk during the off season. But he needs to start taking care of himself more. And it was announced earlier today that he really has no plans to move on from the NFL, but he should definitely. I'm not saying he should consider it because he already has guaranteed money, so either way, he's going to get paid no matter what. But it was just really concerning to see, especially again, him going down and him taking a little bit to get back up. I'm pretty sure he's going to a neurologist sometime this week, so we're gonna find out more later this week. So I'll probably keep you guys updated next week. And also, Mike McDaniel's is actually really handling this really well, and I'm quite impressed with how the Dolphin head coach is playing the politics game. He's really handling this really well, and he's definitely making the Dolphins organization look better uh, under him than in past years if this would have happened to another player. Uh, the Dolphins are also looking to possibly get a veteran backup and maybe start him over Skylar Thompson. I mean, if this is going to be a long-term thing, I would 100% suggest this only because they'll probably see more success behind this. But even with Tua, they really weren't overly that successful. I mean, the Dolphins are 1-1, yes, and their first win was pretty good, but this loss was more of a team loss rather than one individual. I mean, it didn't help that Tua threw three interceptions, and you're never going to win a game off of three turnovers. But if the Dolphins can just limit their turnovers and just get their balls to the receivers, I feel like they're going to do all right. And getting back to the Bills real quick, Josh Allen is having an MVP caliber year right now. I was not really expecting that. I definitely had him as like runner up in the MVP conversation, but not like the main lead. But as of right now, it would definitely go to him. Now, whether he and the Bills can keep up this pretty miraculous playing right now without like that many stars on their team, we'll see. Again, as I mentioned last week, it seems like Josh is not forcing as many passes only because he doesn't have like one true number one wide receiver. It could go to Khalil Shakir, it could go to Keon Coleman, it could go to Curtis Samuel. And again, the running game takes off pressure of Josh. So as long as the Bills can keep playing as one unit on defense and take pressure off of Josh, I feel like they're going to continue to do well. Now, on the opposite side of doing well, we have the Panthers, who continue to make me look pretty silly from what I said earlier this season. Uh, They announced not that long ago of me starting to record this that they are officially benching Bryce Young, unfortunately. This is kind of overdue. I always say that a rookie quarterback should sit behind a veteran, but it's his sophomore year. He really should have tried to figure it out, especially during over the off season. I really had high hopes for this team, and I don't entirely know why. I just had a feeling, and I guess I was wrong. They're losing stars on defense, and now they're benching their sophomore quarterback that was their number one overall pick 2 years ago. Um, Panthers fans, I feel really sorry, and especially my one friend is a really big Panthers fan. So I just feel really sorry for you guys right now. There's no hope in sight. You guys are starting Andy Dalton at quarterback, and I didn't even realize he was still in the league. I thought he retired, but the Red Rifle, or yeah, Red Rifle is still in the league, but it's not really coaching's fault. Well, okay. So it starts at the top with your owner. David Tepper is definitely one of the worst owners in the NFL, and it all starts with him. And it trickles down to the front office, which trickles down to the coaching staff, which then trickles down to the players. And we've gotten to the point that some tickets for home games cost $1 to get into. That's not good for business. That's not good for the NFL. That's not good for the players. They can't get paid the money that they deserve, and overall, it's mainly management's fault. They probably should have built a better squad, and it all starts with the owner. So David Tepper really probably has to take fault for this, and maybe even get punished for the NFL for his um for his ignorant actions. Uh, Sticking on topics of talking about specific teams and how they're doing, uh, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets did get a win over the the Titans, who we'll touch on in a little bit, 24-17. Uh, Rodgers looked pretty solid. He definitely looked like he shook off some rust from week one. Uh, I remember seeing after last week's Monday Night Football with the Jets versus the 49ers that Rodgers didn't even try to target any receivers on the right side of the field. Obviously, there's he did target some receivers on the right side of the field. I saw a pretty great throw and catch to Garrett Wilson on the right side of the field that set him up, I believe, for a field goal, um, which definitely helped extend their lead a little bit. Um, Both the offense and defense definitely looked better. They looked like they were working as one cohesive unit rather than just trying to be stars, trying to make star plays. But this is uh, this is definitely uh, it's definitely good for Rodgers and the Jets. They got to continue to build on top of this. The one key thing I will say is that this is the Titans, and they're not that great. They have some stars, and they're definitely going to be more of a competitive team than I probably initially realized. But they're not going to make the playoffs. So the Jets need to build on this, but not uh, anticipate teams playing this poorly every time. Uh, and again, Rodgers, especially after the injury, I believe I mentioned this last week, looked a lot less mobile, especially in this game as well. Normally, he would roll out and escape the sack, and he had to throw out of bounds. Not to say that he never did that, especially during his time in Green Bay, but it unfortunately looks like he's definitely lost a lot of his agility, so he's definitely going to have to become more of a pocket passer. So, this past weekend, we're going to take a look at some of these games. This was a really big upset weekend. Uh, so, a lot of my picks were not that great this past week, and assuming that the Eagles do win tonight, I will go 9-8 on my picks, which is severely under what I did last week, which was I believe 14-3. So not a great week two for me or the NFL in some respects. Starting off with Vikings 49ers, I did see Jay Jettis had a big 79-yard touchdown. The Vikings overall, I'm pretty sure, played pretty well. Sam Darnold, again, is looking pretty good. He did throw one interception, but he was 17 for 26, 268 yards and two touchdowns. Obviously, the one interception. He spread the ball out a decent amount. He hit Justin Jefferson mainly for four receptions, and he also hit Aaron Jones for five receptions as well. So if you're going to target people on the Vikings offense for fantasy, I feel like we're starting to see more of a theme here that he's targeting Jay Jettas and Aaron Jones while their second receiver damn it, I forget his name. That's actually Addison. Jordan Addison, that's it. That's my bad. Yeah, obviously, with Jordan Addison being out, he's definitely going to be targeting his running back out, which will definitely allow him to make easier throws and have higher completion percentages. Aaron Jones did not do that well on rushing wise. He was 9 rushes for 32 yards, and Sam Darnold even had the same amount of rushing yards, weirdly enough. No touchdowns in the rushing department, and I believe one fumble. But looking at the 49ers, I'm pretty sure they couldn't really get anything going. I mean, Brock Purdy threw 36 times, and he completed like 28 of his passes, but he also threw one interception. Uh, I believe Jordan Mason didn't really have as big of a day as he did. And 49ers also got unfortunate news that CMC is going on IR, so he'll be out for at least 4 weeks. But looking at how Adam Schefter kind of described what this injury is like, it seems like they're going to be out for a he's going to be out for a bit longer than just those uh 4 weeks. It feels like he might be out for like 6, maybe 7 if he's unlucky. I don't think they want to push it only because if they push him on this injury, then he could tear his Achilles, and that's definitely not what the 49ers need right now. This is a good Vikings win, but also a bad 49ers loss. Then again, the 49ers have never won in Minnesota since 1992. So, yeah. Seahawks Patriots went into overtime. Seahawks won 23 to 20. Uh, Surprisingly, the Patriots are better than what most people thought. As at least in the first couple of weeks. I mean, Jacoby Brissett went 15 for 27, 149 yards and a touchdown. Not like stellar, but it really came from the rushing attack where they had two running backs go for 80 plus yards. You had Ramondre Stevenson who had 21 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown, and Antonio Gibson, who went for 11 carries, 96 yards, and no touchdowns. So it looks like, besides the rushing attack, they're not really getting it done too much on offense. Obviously, you have most of Jacoby Brissett's yards are coming from hitting his tight end, Hunter Henry. But yeah, the Patriots are finding ways to stay in, and even though they lost, I feel like it's proving to us that the Patriots are going to be better than we thought, which is obviously good for the game of football. But the Seahawks worry me a little bit. They are 2-0, but Gino had to throw 44 times because Kenneth Walker was out with an injury. I'm not entirely sure what injury it was, but they definitely missed him with Zach Charbonnet having 14 carries for 38 yards and a touchdown. They really had to spread the ball out through the air. And I think that ultimately was what hurt them because the Patriots just had to scheme a way to stop the passing attack for the Seahawks. I'm going to briefly touch on this game. The Giants and the Commanders. The Giants kicker went down with an injury, I believe, on the initial kickoff. So they really couldn't kick any field goals today, so they had to go for it. And they almost pulled it out. They had to convert a fourth down, and the ball went straight through the hands of Neighbors, uh, Malik Neighbors. So that's definitely going to haunt them for a couple games. But the Giants, I guess either the Commanders prove that they're able to beat bad teams but lose against good teams, or that they're just almost as bad as the Giants, which is not that great. Next game, I'm just going to briefly touch on this one. It's Chargers and Panthers. Obviously, this led to Bryce Young getting benched. I forget exactly. I believe he threw 2 interceptions, Bryce Young did, but let's see. Bryce Young, 1 interception, no touchdowns. 18 for 62, 84 yards in the air. I don't know how you complete 18 passes and only have 84 yards. But hey, it's the Panthers, so I guess they're going to figure out a way to screw over their fans. Chuba Hubbard only had 10 carries for 64 yards. I'm surprised they really didn't try to pound the ball more. But this is more of an impressive Charger win. The Chargers improved to 2-0, and Herbert didn't really have to throw the ball that much. He only threw the ball 20 times, completing 14 passes, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception on the day. But what really was the major highlight of the day was J.K. Dobbins, 17 carries for 131 yards and 1 touchdown. That was really impressive, and for someone that definitely got injured a lot, I really didn't expect to see that out of J.K. Dobbins. But hey, if they can use Justin Herbert less and let him rest, and not get him injured, then Hardball is going to find a way for this team to win. And I feel like this team is slowly turning into my dark horse to maybe knock off the Chiefs in the AFC West, but we'll see what happens there. They always play the Chiefs close and always lose on something. But and also, side note, Quentin Johnson, 2 touchdowns on the day. I remember seeing one play. It was a deep touchdown. It was quite an impressive catch. So for somebody that had no hands last season, you're doing pretty well, kid. I got to give my hats off to you. Saints versus Cowboys. Oh boy. All right. I can't tell whether this was a Cowboys implosion or a Saints win. The Saints have yet to score under 40 points on offense this season. Although it is only 2 games, that's still pretty impressive. They got the rushing game going pretty well, and I'm pretty sure Alvin Kamara had 4 touchdowns and completely, yeah, he had 20 carries, 3 touchdowns on the ground, I believe one on the air, for 115 yards on rushing, but in the passing game, he had 2 receptions for 65 yards. Yeah, this offense is going to definitely thrive with the rushing attack. If they can get that going, that'll eventually opening up the play action, which will definitely help Derek Carr. I can't even name you their head coach right now. I believe it's oh no, it's Dennis Allen, I believe. Yeah, surprisingly, Dennis Allen uh is actually doing pretty good. I thought this was probably his last year in New Orleans, but if you can keep this up and maybe make the uh, Saints playoff contender, he might have saved his job, honestly. He's making Carr look like prime Drew Brees out here, just passing deep to Raheed Shaheed and Chris Olave, who also both had 4 catches, with Rashid Shaheed having 96 yards and a touchdown, and Chris Olave having 81 yards and almost a touchdown. It got taken away, I believe. But yeah, they completely tore apart this Cowboys defense. So yeah, looking at the Cowboys offense, Dak, even though he had a lot of yards, his touchdown to interception ratio was 1 for 2. And Cooper Rush even came in. I didn't even realize Cooper Rush came in. They couldn't get anything going for the rushing game. Zeke was only 6 carries for 16 yards, and Rico Dowell, or yeah, Dowell, was 7 carries for 30 yards. So they had to rely on Dak, and which forced Dak to throw the ball more, and he threw more interceptions. So looking at it, I think the Saints kind of exposed the Cowboys' weakness, which is forcing the Cowboys to play offense. The more that the Cowboys can rely on their defense to turn the ball over and put Dak in a good position, I feel like they're going to succeed. But against good teams, I guess, like the Saints, who know that they can easily gash the Cowboys' defense, then it kind of proves that the Cowboys really aren't as great as people think. There's a lot of holes, and it's not helping that they're having to pay their big stars, which is making them lose depth everywhere else. Because they're going to have to pay Micah Parsons. They're going to have to pay their head coach McCarthy. Again, those two contracts are going to linger over the season. Now, fortunately, they got Dak out of the way, but they paid him $200 million guaranteed. And realistically, for a performance like that, if you're paying a guy $200 million guaranteed, you're going to want no interceptions almost per game. You're going to want probably zero point 0.5 interceptions per game, or even less than that on average. But yeah, I guess they're getting their use out of Dak. Yeah, I don't know what to say about the Cowboys. We're gonna see them again next week. I'm not sure against who. We'll get to that at that point. Um, yeah, Cowboys. You guys got some questions to answer. Uh, Next up, I'll just go over this game quickly. Packers Colts. Packers surprisingly won 16-10. I realistically thought the Colts would play better. I'm pretty sure Anthony Richardson had a pretty bad day, if I had to. Yeah, well, he was 50% completion. He went 17 for 34, 204 yards, and here's where it gets worse. One touchdown for three interceptions. You're not going to help your team the more you turn over the ball, and this is becoming a theme here over the past couple of games that was just reviewed, where the quarterback is turning the ball over two, three times, and they're losing by like one or two possessions. So surprisingly, Malik Willis played pretty well. He went 12 for 14. They didn't have to pressure Malik Willis to play out of his mind and only allowed him to pass 14 times. So they took the pressure off the rookie and put it on Josh Jacobs, who went 32 carries, which I have never actually seen on stats, for 151 yards. No touchdown, though. So the one touchdown that came from the Packers offense uh, was on the ground. Or, no, sorry, through the air. Surprisingly, you would have thought it would have been the other way around. And obviously some turnovers on defense. This defense gave the Eagles troubles last week, so the Packers are shaping up to be a pretty solid team. They just got to keep the ship afloat until Jordan Love gets back, which seems. I believe I saw something saying he's looking to get back week 5. So realistically, Packers fans, you just got to keep the ship afloat while the captain's away. I'm not even going to touch on Browns Jaguars because the Jaguars are way underperforming and the Browns are just surviving off of their defense. Deshaun had no touchdowns on the day, but no interceptions as well. Trevor Lawrence, same thing. He had no touchdowns on the day, but no interceptions. But he had under a 50% completion rate. Running game really couldn't get going either. Same thing with the Browns. I'm pretty sure this was a pretty big defensive battle, which is why the score was 18-13. So, yeah, just a really weird game. I don't really have much to say. This was definitely probably one that most people skipped over. Since I already touched on the Jets earlier, I'm just gonna quickly go over the Titans realistically. Uh, Titans, they're going to be a competitive team. I said this earlier this season. They're going to be a competitive team. But again, like I said earlier, they're gonna go as far as Will Levis sends them. And he threw, I can't tell whether it was an interception or a fumble. It looked like he was bowling with the football. That's not how you pass the football. It's not underhand. I don't really know what to say here because they don't have a rushing game either. Tony Pollard had 17 carries for 62 yards. I mean, Will Levis had one good throw to Calvin Ridley for a touchdown, and that was amazing. I, I don't even know what to say about that. I didn't even think he caught it. But yeah, Titans, you're gonna go as far as Will Levis takes you, and if this is as far, just keeping you competitive in games, it's not going to be enough. He needs to stop turning over the ball, and you guys need to open up this rushing attack to take off less pressure. Defense, I'm pretty sure didn't get any takeaways either, which definitely didn't help the set the offense up well. I also don't see any sacks. I thought Rodgers did take one or two sacks, but they didn't really get to Rodgers at all. Uh, and just taking a quick look at Rodgers, 18 for 30, 172 yards, and two touchdowns. Again, they're not killing Rodgers' arm. He's getting close to 200 passing yards every game so far, but but this time he got to throw multiple passing touchdowns, which was good to see. He did rush for 2 carries and 1 yard, which is weird. I don't remember that. I was flipping between this game and the Cowboys game. But yeah, Jets just keep building momentum off of this, and although this is not a playoff caliber team, it's still a pretty competitive team. Going over to the Lions, Bucks, the Bucks surprisingly beat the Lions. I really thought that the Lions were going to beat the Bucks, but Baker Mayfield is just proven to be better than what most people thought. I mean, he led his team in rushing with 5 carries and 34 yards, so they really couldn't get anything going on the rushing attack. I'm pretty sure Baker also took 4 sacks within like the first half by Aiden Hutchinson, and we'll touch on that in a little bit. Uh, he was 12 for 19, 185 yards, 1 touchdown to 1 interception. So, not bad performance. They didn't force him as much, which is concerning that he threw one interception. But I didn't really see that. His receivers, mainly it was just Godwin this week. I knew Evans underperformed a lot. Only Evans was only 3 receptions for 42 yards, whereas Godwin was 7 receptions for 117 yards and 1 touchdown. So that was a good performance by the receiving side of the Bucks. It seems like their defense, I'm pretty sure, did pick off Goff once or twice, which we'll touch on in a couple minutes here. But yeah, overall they didn't really get any pressure, and I'm pretty sure they didn't really stop the rushing attack as much. But let's take a look at the Lions' rushing attack. Uh, Looking at Jahmyr Gibbs had a pretty big day. I mean, bigger than he had week one, I feel like. He had 13 carries for 84 yards and no touchdowns, whereas David Montgomery had 11 carries for 35 yards and a touchdown. Again, it's hard to gauge how well each running back is going to do because they have that tandem duo, so they're not always going to rely on one more than the other. But pretty decent day for the rushing attack, where they got hurt really bad, was they they forced Goff to throw 55 times. He threw 55 times he had 34 completions for 55, threw 107 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Again, a common theme here, the team on the losing end by at least one possession had 2 or more turnovers during the game. So they definitely had shots to win. Uh, Amon-Ra St. Brown was 11 receptions for 119 yards. So that was pretty good. And Jameson Williams was 5 receptions for 79 yards, which is also pretty good. But besides that, nobody else really stood out in the receiving department. Now, I knew Brian Branch did get a interception off of Baker, but Aiden Hutchinson, the man of the day for the Lions, had 4.5 sacks. I'm pretty sure he had 3 sacks in the first quarter. But having 4.5 sacks in a game is really impressive. Again, I feel like this is probably my most confident pick in Hutchinson probably winning Defensive Player of the Year, but this definitely helps towards that. He just has to keep this production up, maybe like half a sack a game, or 1.5 sacks for a couple games in a row from here on out. But yeah, overall, two really good teams, but the Buccaneers just got a little bit more lucky when it came over to the turnover battle. When it comes to our next game, it was Raiders Ravens. Raiders beat the Ravens 26-23. Lamar, I'm pretty sure, did not have that good of a day. He threw an interception and a touchdown. He went 21 for 34, so not too bad on the completion side of passing. Derrick Henry did get a rushing touchdown. I'm not sure whether this was his first with the Ravens. He had 18 carries for 84 yards, so they used him a bit more than in the Chiefs game. Jeez, that feels forever ago. But yeah, I'm pretty sure. And Lamar did spread the ball around, but I'm pretty sure the Raiders just fell flat. Their defense really couldn't stop the Raiders too much. I mean, Minshew went 30 for 38. So if you're allowing Minshew to go 30 for 38, although he's an amazing quarterback, you're probably doing something wrong on defense. Minshew 30 for 38, 276 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. So Even though he did turn over the ball, they were able to get the win. Rushing, really, they didn't do that well. I mean, their top running back had 9 carries for 24 yards, so uh, they really attacked the Ravens through the air, which again, a common theme is this Ravens defense lost pieces, especially in the secondary, that's going to allow for offenses to probably gash them down the field. Devontae Adams, 9 receptions for 110 yards, and Brock Bowers, even though he looks like an old man, has 9 receptions for 98 yards. So that was really impressive by the Raiders. Again, also on defense, Max Crosby had two sacks. He kind of owned Lamar. If Lamar did not try to escape and stayed in the pocket too long or didn't deliver the ball fast enough, Max Crosby was there to either pressure him, hit him, or sack him. So yeah, Raiders, just keep trying to compile wins, and possibly you guys can make the playoffs. I'm not even sure. Uh, we'll make more playoff predictions later in the season, maybe around halfway through the season. I'll do a special episode where I make my playoff predictions. But till then, stay tuned. Uh, Next up, we have Rams Cardinals. Cardinals blew the brakes off the Rams. I mean, I'm really surprised here. I picked the Rams to win. Cooper Kupp went down with an injury, I'm pretty sure, and he's going to be out for a significant time. But this was really the Kyler and Marvin Harrison show, I'm pretty sure. Kyler went 17 for 21, 266 yards, and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. James Conner gashed the run defense for 21 carries for 122 yards and a touchdown. And again, Marvin Harrison, 4 receptions for 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. I remember seeing the one. I didn't know they had a second one. And I believe I saw this stat somewhere that he just had more yards in a single game than his dad had in a single game his rookie year. So, yeah, really impressive from the Cardinals' part. I mean, I just want to see more of this. I want to see them build on top of this win. They look pretty competitive against the Bills, and now they got to prove that they're better against a better team. I thought. Looking at the Rams, though, Matthew Stafford, 19 for 27, 216 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. So it didn't seem like turnovers were that big of a problem. They just couldn't really get anything going on offense. Obviously, they don't have their top 2 receivers now with Cooper Kupp out and Puka Nacua out for an extended period of time. And I feel like this was probably the worst case scenario for the Rams. Kyron Williams, really couldn't get going. Their entire rushing attack really couldn't get going. Actually, Blake Corum 8 carries for 28 yards, no touchdown. Williams 12 carries for 25 yards and a touchdown. Receiving, the top receiver only had 50 yards, so really this offense kind of fell flat. Uh, Stafford did spread out the ball in their receiving attack, but yeah, the Rams, it's not looking too great. You guys are just gonna have to try to keep float until some of your bigger name receivers come back. Next up, we have Steelers Broncos. Again, a really big defensive uh, battle, more of a snooze fest on offense. Justin Fields again proving that he can be consistent. Uh, Really, he went 13 for 20, 117 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions. That's important. As long as Justin Fields does not turn over the ball, he's going to do good. Najee Harris with 17 carries for 69 yards. Pretty good. I was expecting maybe a little bit better, but that's all right. Looking at the Broncos, though, Bo Nix, again, a quarterback turning over the ball twice and losing the game by 1 possession. Realistically, it's not looking good for the Broncos. I was hoping that they were going to be better, but Bo Nix is not turning out to be the guy. He's looking like a deer in headlights right now. And for a guy that had as much starting time as he had at the collegiate level, he should really be looking better at this point. But yeah, there's not really much positive I could really say from from this outing besides the Steelers defense is really keeping them in this, and like I said earlier on this year, they're going to have to rely on T.J. Watt and the defense to carry them. Whether how far that may go, I'm not sure. The other big game of Sunday was Chiefs Bengals. Both teams played really well, and definitely for coming out flat the first week, the Bengals definitely played better this week. Burrow went 23 for 36, 258 and two touchdowns, no interceptions, luckily enough, but they really couldn't get anything going on the rushing attack. Zach Moss had 12 carries for 34 yards, and he was their top rusher of the day. So that's a little bit upsetting there. They had to rely on Burrow and his arm. Again, Jamar had a really underwhelming game for four receptions for 35 yards, and he cost them. I'm pretty sure he cost them a field goal because he drew a unsportsmanlike conduct foul pretty stupidly. You had to have Burrow hold him back, and it seemed like he might have been fighting with Burrow. Uh, I can tell he's definitely frustrated, but he needs to get over it. It's not about him, and if the Bengals are going to succeed this year and dig themselves out of this 0-2 hole, they're going to have to rely on the Burrow Chase connection here. Their defense is a little bit younger, and they drew that DPI penalty at the end. And obviously, I am not a Chiefs fan. And if I can ever find a way that I can critique how the officials give the Chiefs a break, I definitely will. But that DPI call at the end was 100% true. I can't really argue that. The defender hit, I believe, Rashid Rice as he was about to receive the ball and pushed his head down so he couldn't see. It was just, I believe he was a rookie corner too, so a little bit upsetting, but he's going to learn from this. But looking at the Chiefs' offense, you had Mahomes who went 18 for 25, 151, two touchdowns, and two interceptions. Surprisingly, this is the one case of the week where the quarterback that turned the ball over twice did not win, or did win, my bad, did win the matchup. But yeah, the one interception was just a really athletic play, I believe, by Cam Taylor Britt, I believe. Yeah, Cam Taylor Britt had a really athletic play, so there's nothing Mahomes could really have done about that. Rushing game was pretty good until Isaiah Pacheco got injured. Isaiah Pacheco had 19 carries for 90 yards, no touchdowns. Unfortunately, we did get the news today that Isaiah Pacheco will miss significant time undergoing surgery. I forget exactly of what. If you give me 1 second, I'll just pull that up right about now. He's undergoing a surgery for a fractured fibula. He could miss at least 6 weeks, so I'd expect probably more, maybe 7, 8. This does not really bode well for the Chiefs, especially in the rushing department. They're gonna have to put more stress on Patrick Mahomes and the passing offense, unless they can get Carson Steele going, which is definitely a possibility. But they're going to have to rely on this passing offense. Again, another really quiet game for Travis Kelce. Only one reception for 5 yards. He's been really underperforming, and I can't tell whether it's Mahomes is just favoring the wide receivers more, whether they're double teaming or double covering Travis Kelce a bit more. But yeah, that was really underwhelming for Travis. Rashid Rice had another big day. Obviously, drew that DPI penalty at the end. He was five receptions for 75 yards and a touchdown, with the next closest receiver being yards wise, being Justin Watson. So yeah, Chiefs fans, good win against a good opponent. But I'd be a little bit concerned about the next couple of weeks, only because you guys don't have the safety valve and the safety valve in Travis Kelce as much now for some reason, and Isaiah Pacheco is going to be out for a significant time. So I could definitely see that hindering Chiefs, the Chiefs in the upcoming matchups. And Bengals fans, it's not all doom and gloom. This is definitely better than last week. Obviously, the Bengals, especially under Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor, are more known for their slow starts. So let's just see when they're going to start picking it up and stringing a few wins along here. Uh, Finishing off, we have Sunday Night Football, Texans, Bears. Uh, Again, I'm pretty sure this was a pretty decent game. I don't think there's anything too special. Looking at the Bears, Caleb Williams went 23 for 37, 174 yards, and two interceptions. Now, again, like I stressed earlier, he lost. He lost a kind of a two possession game with two interceptions, which is not like as bad as some of the other quarterbacks, but still you don't want to see those turnovers. He was he was also the lead rusher with 5 carries for 44 yards, which you do not want to see, especially with a rookie quarterback. DeAndre Swift really quiet, only 14 carries for 18 yards. He really couldn't get anything going on the ground. And through the passing attack, I knew Keenan Allen was also out. But yeah, DJ Moore was their top receiver with 6 receptions for 53 yards. And Rome Odunze was their next top receiver with 2 receptions for 33 yards. It's a little bit concerning for the Bears right now. I thought they would have had a little bit of a better start by now. But they haven't looked great against two good opponents. Uh, Their defense looks solid, but if the offense can't take the pressure off the defense, and if Caleb Williams can't start figuring it out soon, it might be time to push the panic button for the Bears. On the Texans side, we have C.J. Stroud going for 23 for 36, 260 yards and a touchdown. They couldn't get anything going on the ground with Joe Mixon having 9 carries for 25 yards. And Cam Akers having 7 carries for 32 yards. Nico Collins was their top receiver, with Stephon Diggs being the next top with 37 yards. I don't even see Tank Dell anywhere. Yet Tank Dell had 1 reception for -3 yards. So yeah, like I thought, with the addition of Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell is being buried a little bit more into the depth chart. I don't even see John Mechie anywhere. I forget whether they have John Mechie at all. But yeah, this is a little bit not. I wouldn't say concerning. Obviously, it's a good. Oh, they still do have John Mechie. All right. So yeah, it might be too many weapons. I know that's a weird thing to say, but if the you're going to have somebody like Stephon Diggs, who's more of a diva, uh, make more noise if he's not getting his quote unquote rightful targets. But yeah, I wasn't really concerned about it now. Just keep winning, Texans. I'm pretty sure their defense played pretty well. They definitely pressured Caleb Williams a lot, which is pretty good. Uh, but yeah, Texans, good win against an okay opponent as of right now. So just keep building momentum, and we'll see how far this takes you. So going into this upcoming weekend's games, this will be NFL Week 3. I'll just briefly go over some of the picks on Thursday Night Football. We have Jets Patriots. I'm taking the Jets to win probably 28-24. I feel like this is definitely going to be a closer game than people think. Definitely a defensive battle as well, but at the end, Aaron Rodgers, being the better quarterback, I believe is going to turn over the ball less. Uh, and I feel like Jacoby Brissett turns over the ball maybe once or twice against this good Jets defense, which will lead to a Jets win. Next up, we have Browns Giants, and I'm really conflicted on what to pick here. I guess I'm going to pick the Browns only because I prefer their coaching over the Giants, and I just believe in that defense a bit more. That defense is definitely going to get to Daniel Jones and make him a little bit more uncomfortable. So give me the Browns probably winning 17-10. Next up, we have Packers Titans. Again, Titans are going to keep it competitive, but if they can take pressure off of Malik Willis, I can easily see the Packers winning this again, probably 24-13. Will Levis, just don't turn the ball over, and you might have a chance in this game. You have Bears Colts. Uh, Weirdly enough, again, I feel like the Colts, there's something up there. I can't tell. I can't tell whether it's the coaching or Anthony Richardson or the rushing game, but something's weird there, and I can't tell. And until I can tell, and until I see them trying to solve this problem, I'm gonna have to bet against them. So give me the Bears winning. Bears beating the Colts, probably 24-10. Next up is actually probably going to be a pretty good game. It's going to be Texans Vikings. And actually, give me the Vikings. I don't know. I just have a weird feeling that their momentum is building. And I did feel a little bit off about CJ Stroud in Sunday night's game. So give me the Vikings winning a very close battle, 20-17. Next up, we have Eagles Saints. This is really a toss up, honestly, as I touched on earlier. I could really see this game going either way. But give me my birds. I feel like our defense will find a way to stop the run, which will allow us to cover the deep pass better than the Cowboys and definitely the Panthers did. Another really interesting game. It's the Chargers Steelers. I can easily see this going either way. But give me the Steelers, or no, give me the Chargers. The Chargers are probably going to win this. I don't see the Steelers' offense getting anything going, and if they put in Russ again, I'm not sure how well it's going to gel. So give me Chargers 35-13. Next up, we have the Bucks versus Broncos. Give me the Bucks all day. I think Mike Evans and Chris Godwin have monster days. Uh, Probably, I'm going to make a bold prediction. I think both receivers have over 100 receiving yards and 4 receptions on the day. Absolutely blowing out the Broncos. I'm going to say 42-10. Panthers Raiders. I'm not sure how well Andy Dalton's going to play, so I have to take the Raiders here. Uh, Give me the Raiders like probably 21-7. Or maybe, no, 21-13. I'll give the Panthers a couple extra points because I can see them possibly driving down the field but stalling out. But yeah, I don't really see the Panthers really winning this. Dolphins, Seahawks, it all really depends on who's starting at quarterback for me. If by the time that I upload this episode and the Dolphins pick up, like Ryan Tannehill say or somebody else, I could definitely see them winning. But right now, give me the Seahawks. I just feel like they're kind of the better team. As long as their defense can kind of contain Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, then I feel like they're going to do fine. Both these teams are kind of cursed, but the Ravens have to win at some point. So we have Ravens Cowboys. I think the Ravens have to win at some point. Give me the Ravens winning a close battle 24-20. I think the Cowboys just miss out, and because of one, or maybe even two Dak turnovers, whether it's a fumble or an interception, I can see the Cowboys losing off the back of that. 49ers versus Rams. Give me 49ers. I think it's going to take a miracle right now for the Rams to win, especially without uh, Puka and Cooper Cup being out for a little while. Again, what hurt the 49ers last week were deep passes, and weirdly enough, just their pass rush not being able to get to Sam Darnold. Nick Bosa, I forget what's his status for the game. I remember seeing him go down with an injury, but I guess he's going to be fine. I'll definitely retweet it if he's not. But yeah, give me the 49ers. Probably as long as they as long as they can just keep pretty safe and just allow him to hit his receivers, I can see them easily winning this game. Lions Cardinals, I feel like it's going to be a better game than most people realize. But give me the Lions. I feel like they get a bounce back win from the Cardinals. From the Bucks, and they start building more momentum again. Next up, we have Chiefs Falcons. Give me the Chiefs a lot. It These guys aren't really slowing down, and their momentum keeps picking up. So yeah, I really can't say anything else. We're gonna see how the Falcons perform tonight, but yeah, you have Jags Bills. Give me the Bills. They're like an their team overall is better rounded, and I can just easily see Josh Allen throwing for 3 touchdowns and probably rushing for one more and completely scorching the Jaguars. Though the Jaguars have beaten the Bills, weirdly enough, when they weren't supposed to in the past. So I wouldn't be completely shocked if the Bills, weirdly enough, drop a win here. Commanders, Bengals. I can easily see the Bengals probably rolling over the Commanders, but yeah, give me the Bengals and I forgot to do the Bills, Jags. Give me Bills winning 28 to 10, and then give me Bengals winning over the Commanders 35 to 13. All right, so that's it for this week's episode of Flying with the Flock podcast. This has been quite fun to do for the past couple of weeks, and obviously I'll continue to do this deeper into the season. Please follow me at my Twitter. It's in my bio underneath my channel. Yeah, and please tweet at me. Let me know. Give me any ideas. React to what I say, and I'll be sure to update you guys on there if any of my picks have changed because of things how they shake up in the NFL. All right. Well, have a good one, folks, and I'll talk to you guys next week on episode number 4.